out and talk about our view on artificial intelligence, there's a story I was reading recently about an incident where an automobile was driving along and a pedestrian with a bicycle came in front of the vehicle, and the automobile hit the pedestrian and caused a tragic accident. How many of you have heard of this story? How many of you think it was Uber? Okay, well, it was Uber, but the same thing happened also 122 years ago today, or this week, in New York City. The first recorded automobile accident in history happened. Down here, it was I forget the name of the manufacturer of the vehicle, but it created all these questions about this technology that humans were operating. And maybe the technology was beyond human control. We needed to regulate and stop and pause on this technology, these cars that were on the streets of New York City. And that was 122 years ago, 1896 in New York. Again, first recorded automobile accident. And it's interesting to see that the same questions just keep coming up again and again when you look at the application of technology. And with AI, we're seeing all these questions come up even more because of some of the power of the technology. So what I'm going to talk to you about a little bit is our view on artificial intelligence, and it's informed by a book that we just wrote that I was co-author of called Human Plus Machine. And if you remember nothing else from what I talk about here today, just remember the plus sign on the screen up here. Because our fundamental view that we believe from the work we've done, the research we have, the view we have into the future is that we're entering an age that's about human empowerment. It's an age where we're going to enhance humanity and our ability to deal with the way we work and live. And it's about putting the technology, the machine and AI technology, together with the human and augmenting human capability. And so the plus sign is really the thing I'd ask you to take away, and I'll explain why that's true. Now, we live in a dazzling era. You can see some of these things on the screen here. I'm sure some of you have seen these videos before. You can see Atlas in the top left, who's going to do a flip. You can see Amelia right there on the middle right, and a number of other amazing things. Quantum computing in the center, which is emerging very rapidly. We're already doing work solving real problems for companies using quantum computing today, which is a lot faster than I would have told you it would happen if you asked me several years ago. In the top center, you see an example of Cas9 CRISPR, just to make the point that we're moving beyond traditional silicon, von Neumann kind of models with computing very rapidly. When you look at the way we can compute using DNA-based computing and DNA-based storage, that I'd argue within certainly 2 decades, if not 1 decade, will dramatically transform the way we do computing. So why do I talk about all these things? And one reason is that we're on this amazing time in human history that we'll look back on, where the pace of technology advancement is kind of lulling us a little bit. I don't think we're fully appreciating how rapidly these paces are advancing. And the other thing I'd tell you is a lot of this is happening because of artificial intelligence. We wouldn't have the advances in biology and biotech without AI and machine learning. We wouldn't have the advances in mixed reality that we're showing in the bottom right without artificial intelligence. You wouldn't have Atlas without that. So AI is what we call the alpha trend that's powering all other trends. And if you want to understand anything that's happening in technology in almost any industry, you need to be deeply into AI and understand where AI is heading, which begs the question of where are we really with AI? And our answer to that question, I won't define AI and talk about the basics of AI because you've heard a lot about that today, but we're really still at the very early stages of artificial intelligence. I describe AI as like a spry senior citizen because it's 60 years old. The term is 60 years old, but it's really just leaping into action with amazing advances like Amelia and other things that we're seeing. But it's still just the early stages of AI, and I think what we have to prepare for in organizations as we're looking at our businesses is a 10 and 20 decade long adoption period, starting now, because there's real things you can adopt in your business that'll transform your business today, like Amelia and many other technologies. But this is just the start of the transformation of our business, and you need to understand where AI is at now, but also where it's going. And it leads to this type of view that I like to talk about, which is where AI has been and where it's going. AI, the way we look at it, starts at the core, at least the way we think of AI today, with a lot of learning technologies, machine learning and the technologies that came out around machine learning. And that enabled all these wonderful applications, intelligent agents, natural language understanding, many, many things that you couldn't do using traditional programming techniques. You simply couldn't solve computer vision in an effective way using traditional programming techniques. You simply couldn't solve natural language understanding in a complete fashion, in a complete enough fashion, without learning-based techniques. That's why AI and machine learning is important, and it leads to all these other applications: intelligent agents, autonomous transportation, intelligent products, many, many other capabilities. And that's what's significant from a business perspective, is looking at the applications you can drive. But the other thing I'd tell you is that there's many, many other domains of AI that are also going to advance as we advance what's happening with machine learning. We see some of this with Amelia. If you look at advances that are coming in knowledge representation and symbolic processing and other areas that are going to come together and give us powerful new combinatorial capabilities with AI. So if you're studying AI and its impact on your business or your industry, you need to look at not where AI is now, but where AI is moving to. And as we talk about that a lot in our book. Now, just to give you, at the end of the day here, just to really boil it down for you, I'll talk to you quickly about 3 myths of AI, 3 imperatives, and 3 challenges. And this is at the heart of this book, Human Plus Machine, that I referred to earlier, that we released a couple months ago. So the 3 myths, I'd tell you, are, first of all, the first myth is that the robots are coming for us. We don't believe that's true. We don't believe we need to worry about that in the next few human generations. You can see, from Hollywood, we see HAL in the top right, Skynet in the bottom right of this slide. This week is also another anniversary this week, the 35th anniversary of the release of War Games. What was the AI in War Games? You remember? Joshua? Yeah, Joshua was going to take over the nuclear weapons and overthrow the world, or destroy the world. So the robots are not coming for us. That's not the issue we need to worry about. And I think the concern about this in the popular media is really unfortunate and distracting a lot of people. The second myth in our view, and not just in our view, but in our research, is that the machines will take all our jobs. We simply don't believe this is true. Machines will automate a lot of current jobs. Machines will make things more efficient. We'll have a lot of job loss because of AI. But net, machines will create many new jobs, and the issue we have isn't the jobs, it's the skilling of people for the new jobs. In the US alone, we have 6.5 million people unemployed right now. We have 6 million open jobs, almost enough, and that's already at a high employment level. We created 220,000 jobs in the job report this month. Last month it was 170,000, the month before 240,000. We're creating plenty of jobs. The issue is getting the people that are impacted and unseated from their jobs, skilled in the right way for the new jobs, and I'll come back and talk about that in a minute. And that's a really challenge for this group, and another creative way we can use AI and other technologies to solve the problem. And then the third myth is that the current approaches still apply. We believe that they don't, and you need to fundamentally rethink how you apply technology to your business if you really want to get the value of AI, and I'll talk about this more in a minute. So those are the 3 myths. The 3 imperatives, which are the 3 core themes of the book that we wrote and the work we're doing at Accenture, are here on the slide, and I'll walk them through. The first is, this new approach you need to take is around reimagining your business. And we talk in the book about 3 generations of work. We believe we're in the 3rd generation of industrialized work right now, and we've just entered the 3rd age. The first age was automation. Frederick Taylor, scientific management, Henry Ford, assembly lines. That defined most of the 1900s. The 2nd generation was the knowledge worker, automating the mind with systems and databases and things, late 90s, early 2000s. That was re-engineering. Still sequential, flowcharts, Visio, right? That's the way we did that work. The 3rd generation you need with AI is about reimagining and creating dynamic, agile, adaptive business processes. The job itself doesn't have a single job description. It's dynamic, personalized, adapted to the individual worker, dramatically different way of working, like we see with examples like, say, in industrial equipment. For those of you who might be implementing digital twin models in your maintenance operations and engineering organizations to completely change the way that you operate equipment and to completely change technicians' job, increasing productivity, increasing capital efficiency, dramatically changing the business, working unlike it did before, reimagining it, and that's where the path to value is with AI. So new approach to business. The second thing you need to think about is a new approach to work. If you're trying to take the people in the jobs today and get them to do the work tomorrow, you're doing the wrong thing. You need to think about the new approach to work and the new way jobs look. And we call this the missing middle. And we've defined 6 categories of jobs that are on the slide here. And we talk about these in a few chapters of our book. And there's 2 categories of jobs. There's a category of jobs which is all about people helping machines operate more effectively. Things like trainers, not to tag data for algorithms, but trainers to train the personality of virtual agents to represent the norms and behaviors and values of a company. That's a skill we're hiring in Accenture today. Sociologists, psychologists, not engineers and technologists doing those types of jobs. Explainers, not just for GDPR in explaining data policies, but explaining how your algorithm worked. When the Uber car hit the pedestrian in Tempe, who figured out what happened and what needed to be changed? New roles, explainers. And on the right-hand side of the slide, on your right-hand side, it's all the jobs, all the new categories of jobs that can amplify, improve interaction, and then embody physical characteristics in the form of robotics. And this right-hand side, in essence, gives people superpowers to do their jobs more effectively. And what we see in the work we do is we believe there's up to 40% productivity gains by applying these types of technologies on the right. And we also see that companies that adapt these kind of techniques get returns that are on the order of 4 or 5 times the returns of companies that are just applying technology to what they do today or applying AI to what they do today. So there's better business return by taking this new view of reimagining and looking at the jobs and the work differently. And then the third area, the third imperative we talk about in the book, and one of the panelists just alluded to this a minute ago, is that you can't get into AI in your organization without thinking differently about your corporate responsibility and how you're going to implement a responsible code around the application of AI to your business and to the community you operate it in and to your workers and consumers. And Isaac's 3 laws, which many of you can probably cite, Isaac's 3 laws didn't go far enough. So you need to go beyond Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics to dealing with a set of issues that are very important to us in running businesses and organizations. You need to think about the accountability for the algorithms that you're developing, because the companies that try to claim that something went wrong and it was AI's fault aren't going to do very well. A couple have tried to do that. It doesn't work. A human at the end of the day is accountable for anything that happens in your organization. Understanding the accountability and how you design that in is critical. Transparency, explainability, and understandability of the algorithms is essential. Honesty, to make sure you're not breaking policies and laws, is critical. There's a CEO that's been indicted and will likely go to jail because he was using AI to game laws. That's not acceptable. And they need to be fair. You need to have guardrails in place in your organization to make sure the AI and data you're using isn't increasing bias and is increasing inclusive policies and practices in your organization. And unfortunately, for many organizations, the default behavior of your data and algorithms would lead you in the wrong direction. So you have to really watch that carefully. So and we recommend something like a chief AI officer, a serious new C-suite level executive position to deal with these types of issues. So just in the final minute here, there's 3 challenges that I've put out, and I'm just going to show them all to you real quickly. The biggest challenge we face in the next 10 years, but exists even today, tomorrow, that we need to work on is the skills and learning issue. Because while we will have enough jobs, we will also have millions of people who lose their jobs and won't have the right skills for the AI era that we described on the chart earlier. And we believe this is something that businesses need to increase their commitment to, which is why we're investing $1 billion in Accenture and learning platforms and training all our people. Several other organizations are doing the same, but not enough. We need better education in our communities to deal with the gig economy workers and others who don't work for any company to make sure they're learning. And that's really the challenge we've got, which is why for the book we've written, which is doing well, thankfully, the book is doing very well right now. We're donating all the proceeds, not to me or my co-author or Accenture, we're donating all the proceeds of our book to nonprofits that are dealing with mid-career reskilling, because we think the mid-career folks who are displaced by technology are going to have the hardest time dealing with the impacts, and there's not enough focus on, in the nonprofit sector, in the education sector, and in the technology sector on new creative solutions to solve that problem. So we're donating all the proceeds to address it. And then this is the final slide I'll show you, but we do in the book talk about the prescriptive formula and roadmap that we believe an organization needs to take to deploy AI to create business value. I won't talk about it in the interest of time, but you can look at the book or you can look at a lot of other material we have in Accenture. This is now incorporated in the way we work and our methodology, but it's the mindset, experimentation, leadership, data, and skills kind of as a foundation for the roadmap to applying AI in a responsible way and in a way that generates business value that we think will differentiate your organization. Thanks for the time. Hopefully this has been a good punctuation on some of the messages for the day. Thanks to IPsoft for hosting a fantastic event and being a great partner. So thank you.